and we heard somebody talk about being sick, he got some good news and said somebody had made the comment to him that God is good, right? And it's like, no, actually, God is good all the time, whether we get what we want out of it or not, And so my dad woke up, but I knew that if he didn't, God is still good.
Well, hello, friends of Bill W. and other friends. You have landed on Sober Speak. My name is John M. I am an alcoholic, and we are glad you're all here, especially newcomers. Newcomers, that is, both to recovery as a whole and newcomers to this podcast. Sober Speak is a podcast about recovery centered around the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. My job here on Sober Speak is simple. My job is to provide a platform to the amazing stories of recovery all around us. Consider Sober Speak, if you will, your meeting between meetings. Please remember, we do not speak for AA or any 12-step community. We represent only ourselves. We are here to share our experience, strength, and hope with those who wish to come along for the ride. Take what you want and leave the rest at the curb for the trash man to pick up. Greetings from Studio AA, deep in the heart of Texas. That was the voice of my friend, Mr. Casey W., that you heard at the beginning of this here episode number 411. Oh, I just thought about something. That's kind of apropos. KCW is going to give you the 411 on this episode. Is that still a saying? Like, when you dial information, 411, 1411, whatever it was. Anyway, that may not be a thing anymore, but nonetheless, that was the voice of Casey that you heard at the beginning of this episode. And believe me, folks, you are going to hear so much more information /411 from him in just a moment. But first things first, this episode right here, this one you're listening to, 411, is made possible by Mary Lynn, Tim, Laura, and Brad. And so you're sitting there, or you're driving, or you're working out, or you're doing whatever you're doing, and you say to yourself, what exactly did Mary Lynn, Tim, Laura, and Brad do? Well, they, folks, went to our humble indeed little website, www.soberspeak.com. They clicked on the little yellow donate tab and they made a contribution. So thank you so much, Mary Lynn, Tim, Laura, and Brad. This here episode is coming right out to Ewans. All right. So a little bit of excitement here lately in the Frisco, Texas area where I live. As a lot of you know who have listened to this podcast for a long time, I attend the Frisco group is what it's called, of Alcoholics Anonymous here in Frisco, Texas. And just recently, we have been there, I don't know, like 25 years or so. A lot of meetings. There's 4 meetings a day. I think there's one at 7 a.m. There's one at noon. There's one at 5:30 and 7:30 or 7 o'clock, something like that, just about every day, right? So it's a lot of meetings. And the ones at noon will get upwards. Sometimes there's 100 people in there, or at least 50, 60, 70 at least. And sometimes it's really crowded. And so anyway, the church and you've heard me many times, probably, especially if you've been listening for quite some time, talk about the trailer. It's an actual trailer. I think it's actual little portable building, but it looks like a trailer. And, and we always talk about how as alcoholics get put in the basement and trailers. And, It's never the good stuff. And until recently, the carpet was this real ugly green, but they actually replaced the carpet for us. They were very kind about that and gave us some new air conditioners that make a lot of noise. Anyway, there's a lot of reasons not to like the place, but it's where so many of us found escape from this wretched disease called alcoholism. And so many of us had spiritual experiences, and so many of us met for fellowship and to work the steps and to do all that sort of stuff. But anyway, the church where we met came to our, I don't want to say her name because I haven't talked to her about it, but came to our church liaison, I think is what she is, and told her last week that we can no longer meet at the church. And it wasn't just us. It was all the various 12-step organizations that met in the church. And so, to have that many meetings and then to kind of have to scrim, and they wanted us out within, and I think things could change, and there's some talk about it, and they wanted us out within 30 days. I'm just real grateful for the 25 years or so where they were able to let us meet there, but I think the church is going in a different direction, and that's okay. In fact, I was telling a couple of people, in my opinion, this was a time to cheerfully capitalize upon our troubles to prove God's omnipotence. And, for the most part, that is what we have done. And there's a committee, everyone's looking around for different places and all that sort of stuff. And I know we're not the first group to have ever gone through this, but it's been very interesting. And I think this is God, from my perspective, this is God ordained. For whatever reason, He wants us to be in another place, and it will all work out the way that it is supposed to. But anyway, I just thought that was kind of a interesting little, if we want to call it drama or, change, events that are changing. I'm not phrasing that right. But anyway, and KCW is part of that. And in fact, I'm going to talk about that here in just a moment. But, all right. So, Casey, this particular episode here is called God is Good. And Casey is from Lockhart, Texas now. We used to say he is from Frisco, Texas, but he has recently moved to the booming metropolis of Lockhart, Texas. We discuss his recent move in sobriety down there, his relationship with his mom and his dad and his family in sobriety. I love what he talks about, how the 10th step is what we call the walking around step. I love that. Casey talks about a big God plan and what that is, and all the barbecue that is available in his new hometown. You all should go down there and visit Casey in Lockhart and have some barbecue with him. I plan on doing that very soon. But anyway, that's enough out of me. As always, we will have plenty listener feedback at the end of this episode. Enjoy Casey. Okay, everybody. I'm laughing because Casey just said. Anyway, okay, everybody. I'm just remembering the first time I ever started this, and I was like, "Oh, what the hell do I say to begin with?" And I went, "Okay, everybody," and then it's stuck for like over 400 episodes. But anyway, okay, everybody. So we are back here in Studio AA with one of my favorite guests, actually one of my favorite friends in the world, just one of my favorite people. And this is just going to be about us just talking about things going on. But anyway, that's enough of me. We are back here with Casey W in Studio AA. So first things first, Casey, why don't you go ahead, introduce yourself, give your sobriety date, if you will, please. And then, and this is kind of a new one, tell people where you live in this great land of ours.
KCW alcoholic, January 13th of 1990, just a shade less sober than John. And for the first time from Lockhart, Texas.
Yeah, so let's talk about that a little bit. So
Yeah.
I've been with you, through this journey a little bit. When I say I've been
Yeah.
with you, we've been discussing it. As you know, I've moved a couple
Yeah.
times, and we were kind of at this particular point in life to where we have children that were moving out of the
Yeah.
house, and we were kind of thinning out, if you will,
Yep.
and kind of figure out, okay, what's the next move? We don't have to be concerned about what schools the kids are in. We can
Right.
do whatever the heck we want. So we used to introduce you as KCW from Frisco,
Yeah.
Texas, but you have moved. So talk to us a little bit about that experience and tell people, for those who don't
Yeah.
know, where Lockhart, Texas is located.
So either you know about Lockhart or you don't. If you know about Lockhart, the immediate go-to is barbecue. People ask me, I'll come visit you for some barbecue, which is a good selling point. But it is mostly south, but south and east of Austin by about 30 miles.
Okay. And how did you pick Lockhart?
Yeah, so Karen and I wanted to downsize.
And Karen is your lovely bride.
Yep, my sweet wife. And we've lived in Frisco for 17 years. It's the longest that either one of us have lived in one city, much less one house. So that was a big deal. My youngest son is 18. So basically his entire life was spent in that house in Frisco. And so we wanted to downsize. We really wanted to let God decide. So we spent a lot of time kind of in prayer and quiet contemplation about where we wanted to go. And so we looked around DFW. We kind of investigated a lot of different options, even kind of out of state. But for us, I think Austin made sense for a few reasons. Reason number one, my dad's down there, and so we'd be closer to him. Reason number two, my youngest son is interested in going to UT potentially, also going to Texas State, which is in San Marcos, very close as well. It's also a little bit easier to live in the country in Austin than it is in DFW. If you live in the country in DFW, you're kind of an hour and a half from the airport, an hour and a half from downtown Dallas, and we really wanted to be a little bit closer to civilization. And so all those things put together, we ended up picking that place. Like I said, we kind of looked all over, and we kind of fell in love with Lockhart and the little neighborhood that's there. And
how many people live there?
There are 15,000 people in Lockhart, and there are 9 barbecue joints. So I got to think per capita, it is the largest purveyor of barbecue of any town in the world.
So do and for those who don't know, a lot of people aren't, it's off of a interstate called I-35, but kind of, not like right off the interstate.
Yeah, there's a interstate that goes around Austin, 130. It's called the Pickle Parkway, and it is on the Pickle Parkway. So once you get to Georgetown, you actually go around Austin to get to Lockhart.
Gotcha. And so people with that many barbecue places, I'm assuming there are folks that are getting off the highway and coming to there just to experience the barbecue.
Yeah, for sure. It's funny because I also went to high school, went to college in Austin, got sober in Austin. And so I have a bunch of sober buds still in Austin. But when I lived in Austin in the late 80s and early 90s, there was no real barbecue in Austin. And so my dad and I would go to Lockhart to go eat barbecue there. And at that time, there were only 3 barbecue joints in Austin. There was Kreitz, there was Black's, and there was Chisholm Trail Barbecue. But they were all great barbecue, and that's where you'd go. You'd line up at a 100-year-old barbecue joint, walk through with butcher paper, get either brisket or sausage, get saltines or Wonder Bread. There's no barbecue sauce, and very limited sides, but man, the best barbecue. And it's still that way today.
Are you going to start your own barbecue place?
I feel like a 10th barbecue joint might be overkill. I don't know what like barbecue joint 8 and 9 were really thinking. There's got to be a place where you could do more business, but man, the competition is fierce in Lockhart for barbecue.
A little saturation there.
A little bit.
Yeah, in fact, I remember when I was down. Okay, so I went to the IKIPAW, the International IKIPAW Conference last year in Austin. You were there, and you You're like a barbecue aficionado. I remember you saying, okay, you got one of these three places, but I would go here. I would go.
Yeah.
You know all the barbecue places.
I would say that in sobriety, barbecue's been a passion. One of my buddies, Evan, and I, whenever we take a road trip together, if we can, we're going to visit a barbecue joint. And so it's always, I don't know, there's nothing more Texas than barbecue. And so being able to go to some of these small towns and hit the barbecue joints is always fun. There are people who are way more experienced about barbecue than I am. I am a novice probably when it comes to barbecue, but I definitely have opinions and places I like for sure. I'll make some recommendations.
Okay, so the other thing I wanted to ask you too, that you said you were just listening to a couple of different episodes, and I thought that was very interesting on the way over here.
Yeah.
And in fact, your son says, "Is this what you're going to be doing?" He said, "Yeah, I'm going to be talking to my stupid friend John." Or something.
I'm sure I didn't say that.
That's exactly what you said.
Was it? Maybe it was. Yeah, I was actually listening to Mackenzie because I do re-listen to quite a few of the podcasts.
Okay, so tell people who Mackenzie is.
So Mackenzie was one of the folks that was on the Icky Paw host committee. Mm-hmm. And when you came down, you wanted to talk to a couple folks. And I think I set you up with one of the speakers. And then I kind of went to the chair and co-chair and said, "Hey, John wants to do something. Who's a good person?" And they recommended Mackenzie, which was stellar. And Mackenzie and I have become closer friends even since Icky Paw, which is nice. But I just love to listen to her giggle, and I love to listen to you giggle. And then, man, there's just a lot of giggling on that podcast together. It was really good. I actually re-listened to a lot of them. Gary Kay and David and some of those guys. It's impactful for me on a once a week basis to listen, but then also to kind of re-listen to some of those. And that's one of my favorites.
Yeah. In fact, I rarely, back in the beginning, I would listen to every one of my episodes, right?
Yeah.
To be honest with you, because I wanted to make sure the sound was perfect and, whatever was going on.
Yeah.
But I rarely listen. And so when I have, like, for example, this is a little inside baseball here. When I recorded Hillary, when I do the editing afterwards, when you do the production stuff, well, I have different ways I can how do I put that? Edit the sound. Mm-hmm. Okay. And there's a way to eliminate filler words, and filler words are things like, all that. Mm-hmm. But the challenge is, when you eliminate those, it can also take out some of the other stuff, like, giggling, laughter. It can also take out things like applause, and it can take out stuff that you don't want it. So you got to be careful. Yeah. So I will call Casey and I'll say, "Hey, Casey, I'm not saying you have to listen to these, but I know you listen to if you could listen to this one and tell me if there's any difference, let me know." And it's great.
John, I can be your guinea pig. I'm listening to Sober Speak, John. I'm listening to Sober Speak.
You listen to a lot of podcasts, right?
I do listen to a lot of podcasts. I will tell you, I'm real partial to this one for a recovery podcast, though. This is by far and away my favorite, just because of the format, the people that you get. It's a really, I don't know, it's been powerful in my sobriety for the entire time you've done it.
Wow, well, you're kind. But you listen to other types too,
I do.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, I've never asked you, like, what are you listening to? Because I know when you do road trips, right, you've got your headphones on or whatever, and you're listening while the family sleeps. Yeah. I think you're listening to podcasts. Are you listening to like business podcasts? Are you listening to, what are you listening to?
Yeah, I do a few different ones. I really like ones that interview experts in some field. I really like those. So there's a couple of podcasts that do that quite a bit. I also like any kind of comedy podcast, something that'll make you laugh. Always listen to that. I do listen to a lot of books on tape too. And those rotate between kind of fiction and generally something more spiritually nourishing. I listen to a lot of those kind of things too.
Yeah. And do you just randomly pick them on your player?
Yeah, I have a lot of things that I subscribe to. And so it'll kind of show up in your feed and then make recommendations kind of based on your feed. So many podcasts. I mean, it's hard to pick, but I hate to say it. In my old age, I very rarely listen to music. I listen to people talking.
Right. Yeah,
you know?
I'm kind of the same way.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be nothing but music. Music's
100%.
so important,
Yeah,
music.
absolutely.
And now, I don't know. It's just like an old fuddy-duddy type of thing, I guess.
Probably.
um, Another thing I wanted to talk to you about is that, you know, I know that you have experienced some ups and downs with your father,
Mhm.
him, and kind of making memories with him, and so talk to me a little bit about your dad and the illness that he went through last year, and I know you guys would go to the high school football games. I just
Mhm.
just talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I'll go back to the beginning just to say my parents got divorced when I was 5, so my dad did not live with us at any time that I remember as a child, and he got remarried, he moved away, and so I didn't see him a lot, and so, I got sober young, and, when I turned 16, I was living in Florida with my mom, and she, my mom's in recovery now too, but wasn't at the time. So 2 active alcoholics living together, just the 2 of us. And she came to the conclusion when I was 16 that it was time for me to go. She didn't care where I went, but it wasn't going to be here. And I used to say that my mom kicked me out of the house, but truthfully what happened is I forced my mom to kick me out of the house when I was 16. She just didn't know what to do with me. And my dad was between marriages and agreed to take me in. So, and he was living in Austin. And so here's, out of control 16-year-old dad is living in like this cool bachelor pad in downtown Austin. And he's agreed to take me in, and basically saw me at my worst for my last couple of years of drinking before I got sober. And so during that time of getting sober, I got to live with him for another year while I was sober. Then I moved out of the house and went to college, but he and I spent a ton of time together. We've always bonded around football, especially high school football. So we go to high school football games all the time. That's what we used to do. We went to the high school championship games together. And so, the book talks about in the amends process, there's some wrongs that you can never make fully right, right? I definitely feel like my parents, took the brunt of the wrongs that you can't make fully right. I'm going to take some water. And so my dad and I's relationship has really grown exponentially in my time in recovery. And so I won't go into the gory details, but, and I think it dovetails into kind of what you've gone through recently. I'd love to hear about your experience with it, because this is a way that we get to show up, in other people's lives because of sobriety. I told you I was going to cry. And I'm really in hopes that you will cry too, just to make me feel better throughout this process. Dad had a cardiac arrest. He actually was at a high school football game with my stepmother, fell over in the parking lot. Somebody quickly came over and started to give him CPR. What we later found out was he had a cardiac arrest, but his heart had stopped beating for 17 minutes. And they rushed him to the emergency room. And I'm in Dallas at the time. My stepmom leaves me this crazy message, and I couldn't get her back on the phone. And so I was just with a friend of mine. We're actually headed to Citywide. And I said, I think I'm driving to Austin right now instead of going to Citywide with you. And so I packed a little bag and drove down to Austin, met them at the hospital. And to make a long story short, my dad was in the hospital for about 2 months. He was intubated for, I think, like 10 days before they finally got him off of the respirator. And kind of slowly recovered, but it looked like that first day that this could be it. Didn't know if he had brain damage, didn't know if he was going to wake up, didn't know if his body was going to work when he woke up. And, but the opportunity there is now I get to, be a good son. And so sobriety affords us those kind of things where we get to show up in our parents' lives in a way that we would not have been able to otherwise. So now, my dad's healthy again, walking and talking, and I get to spend time with him. We heard somebody at the meeting. We just came from 4D.
Frisco, fourth dimension.
Yep. And we heard somebody talk about being sick, and,
Yeah.
they made an interesting comment, which was he got some good news, and said, somebody had made the comment to him that God is good, right? And it's like, no, actually, God is good all the time, whether we get what we want out of it or not, And so my dad woke up, but I knew that if he didn't, God is still good, right? So I think for me, the powerful lesson there was just, I had been appreciating my dad the entire time. There was nothing left to say to him, He knew how I felt about him. He knew what he had done for me. And so um, it's the, it's the repaired relationships, and that was certainly one of the big ones for me.
And so,
thanks for making me say all that, John.
You're
Holy
welcome.
smokes. Jeez Louise.
You're welcome. And so that's one of the reasons that you're moving down to Lockhart?
Yeah.
Right,
Get to spend some time with them. My mom is still up in Sherman. It's one of the reasons why I'm here this weekend is to spend some time with her. So I get to be a positive force in both of their lives today, which is amazing.
And you said something I don't think I ever realized. You've probably told me, but I didn't realize. Your mom is in recovery as well.
Yeah.
So did she kind of prompt or spark you getting into recovery? How did that go?
So funny. I was such a jerky little teenager, even in sobriety. It's not like I was trying to help mom or anybody else. I was literally just holding on by my fingertips when I first got sober. And, I'm sure that I had mentioned to my mom at some point, I'm sober, I'm going to meetings, and AA is a big part of my recovery. But at some point in time, like 2 years into my recovery, she calls me and we're not living together. And I can imagine that after I moved out, her alcoholism, like her one tether to reality was having a son at home.
Yeah.
So like she can just do whatever she wants at this point, and so So I have no idea what those last couple of years probably look like. My first 2 years of sobriety and her last 2 years of drinking. But a couple of years into it, my sobriety, she called me one day and she said, I found the most amazing thing. And I said, what did you find? And she said, I found Alcoholics Anonymous.
Really?
Which is pretty amazing. And she's been sober ever since. So she's got like 30, 40 years of sobriety, something like that.
Really? And where was she when she got?
She was in Tampa.
Okay.
And I want to say the name of the group that she went to was Aquarius. But getting to see her kind of experience all the things that I experienced when I first came to AA was absolutely miraculous. So I have, my family tree is chock full of alcoholism. I mean, I'm one of those people who just has one alcoholic after the other in the family. And so to have sober mom, still sober today, is pretty amazing.
Tell me about your kids. I want to know. So this is kind of turning into a family thing, which I love.
All right, good. Let's just cry the whole time, John. I love it. I love it.
Okay, your kids. I know you have a good relationship with your kids, like all of us. We went through the teenage years, it was up and down, and I just want to know. You tell me what you want to tell me about your kids, and then the relationship that you have with them now, and I don't know. Just start talking.
Yeah, I mean, for one, never thought I would get married, never thought I would have kids. That was in sobriety. I mean, like literally the day I met my wife, I thought, I'm never getting married. I'm never having kids. It's just not in the cards for me. Not to tell too much of but there's a lot of divorce in my family on both sides, everywhere. Everyone's experienced some kind of divorce. I'm like, that is going to be me too. I'm kind of projecting that that's what's going to happen. I also had this really full life of recovery, work, friends, that just felt like I didn't have room for family in that whole equation, And then, of course, I meet my wife and she changes, all of that for me. But I think for me, the fact that you're not looking, right? Like I had this full life and I wasn't seeking this thing. God just put this thing in my life. And, we get married and we didn't really even talk about kids. I think she just felt like the understanding was we were going to have kids. And I was like, I make a good amount of money. We can just like travel the world and like, all those kinds of things. She's like, we're definitely having kids and we're having 2 kids. That's what she said. And I was like, oh my gosh. So we decided to have one. We have the one. Amazing.
Sounded like she decided.
She decided. Most of the good decisions that are made in our family are made by my wife. So she decided we were going to have this first. We have this first kid. And she's like, okay, number 2. And I was like, but we've got this one and it's going really well. Do we really need to have
I
2?
did the same thing.
And so we have the second one. But what's funny is after we had the second, I've got 2 boys. After we had the second, I thought, we've got 2. We might as well just go for 3.
Oh.
I was just like, let's just have a bunch of kids. And Karen was like, we're having 2. That's how many we're having, And I tell you what, for me, they talk about Bill talks about the certain trials and low spots, right, that we're going to have in recovery. And certainly being married and having kids and that entire process is a trial. It's a blessing, and it causes me to grow in ways that I would have just never considered before. I can't imagine myself being who I am today, whatever fully formed human being I am, without without being married, without having kids, without having that responsibility. And today, people parent in different ways. Both of my kids are like 2 of my best friends, which is a powerful thing. And so, you plan this life out, right? And the 3rd step promises, it says, our little plans and designs, right? And then there's this big God plan. And I really feel like my wife and kids are part of that big God plan for me. Okay, listen, I didn't want to talk about all this stuff because I wanted to talk about me. I wanted to talk about what happened with you recently.
Let's just, okay, so that's not where I'm going.
I know,
this is
but you don't have to tell a long story, but I would love to hear at least a little bit of a story, because I think your listeners would be happy to know.
I've told the listeners, they're very much aware of this, and it's coming. In fact, you don't even know this, but it's coming up on upcoming episodes where I'm going to talk about all that.
Okay.
And what Casey's talking about is my father passing, and I've shared about this, and it's just, gosh, it's just, we all. So here's what I want to say about it. We all go through challenges and heartaches and turning points within our sobriety, and things that we think that we couldn't have got through otherwise without drinking. But these things come up on us, like raising kids and, navigating a marriage and, all of these things, right? And my mom, her passing, and my aunt, her passing, and my dad, him passing, and all these things that I've been through recently, just like you, right?
Yeah.
I'm no different. We're all going through these things, but the reason that we, I guess, come on the mic and share about these things is basically, well, number one, it can be somewhat cathartic. It's good to be vulnerable, if you will.
Yep.
But it also, let me put it this way. When I sit in meetings today, like we just got back from the Frisco Fourth Dimension, and we heard about people dealing with disease, like really serious disease. We heard people dealing with, family issues, all kinds of stuff. And when I hear them sharing their experience, strength, and hope with that, it gives me hope. It gives me a sense of purpose. It gives me a sense of being as part of a whole, as opposed to just being isolated by myself in my room and thinking, I'm the only one going through this. And it's not true.
Yeah.
We're all going through something. And if I could just kind of take myself, if I can just put myself, if I can kind of look at me from the outside coming in, it helps me to process that more.
Yeah. I just think about your ability to show up for all those things, because you were an integral part in all 3 of those that happened, and drop what you're doing, go there, be a part of it, which is something we would have never done when drinking.
That's right.
I mean, the last thing on my mind was helping somebody. I mean, if anything, I was trying to avoid my family just because I was such a disaster, that you don't want to if you're feeling anything, it's, I don't want to ruin whatever's happening right now because I know that I will.
So I do have an example of that. And what I mean by that is when I was drinking and my grandfather passed,
Mm-hmm.
and now this was before cell phones and all that sort of stuff, but he passed away and they called me and they said, they left a message on an answering machine that I
Mm-hmm.
had. And they said, your grandfather has passed and we're going to have the funeral this week. We're looking forward to you coming up if you can be here. We know how much he loved you. But because I was drinking so much
Mm-hmm.
and quite honestly doing so much cocaine at the time as well and a lot of other drugs, I knew that I could not go back and be a normal person within that environment. Because I couldn't be a normal person and I I didn't want anybody to see me in that shape and I knew I couldn't stop, right? I
Yep.
just couldn't stop. I had to avoid going there
Yeah.
and I had to go make amends in my grandfather's grave after I got sober.
Yep.
But with my dad, I was able to go there and a couple of friends had said two things before I went. Number one, my friend Brad L said, hey, just be present. And I was able to go there. And I remember being in that room with my dad as I knew he was close to taking his final breaths and saying, just be present, just be here, just rub his face, just be with him, just tell him you love him, go through all the things. And another friend of mine said, are you current? And I knew that I was current. And by current, I meant there was no amends to make.
Yeah.
There was nothing to be, I didn't have to like be uncomfortable with him and get, I had done everything that I needed to do up to that point. And we get that. It's a gift, the sobriety. And I was present with my mom when she passed in front of me. I was present with my aunt when I was literally in the room with her as she passed. I was present with her and just able to be there and love on them. So, yeah, it's
a big deal.
It's a gift. It's a gift. And I also want to address that. I know that a lot of people don't. Okay, when I go and I tell my story in public, I always have people come up to me and said, this happened with my mom or this happened with my dad or whatever. And they said, but I didn't get the chance to do that. And I'm cognizant of the fact that it doesn't always happen that way, right? I happened to get sober at an age where, I was able to go do that. What do you think?
Yeah, pretty cool. I mean, I think that it just, I think it speaks to 10 and 11, right? If we're really diligent about self-reflection, meditation, and prayer, we tend to be current with people, right? We tend to not let things build up because that's all I did before I got here was whatever the problem was today, I was sweeping it into tomorrow with drinking and drugs, and so the idea that we can wake up in the morning, tell God we know He's in charge, ask Him, to help us throughout the day, pause when agitated, do that inventory at night, being able to sit quietly with it, using 10 as a walking around step where when something comes up, we pray about it, we talk to somebody about it, we make amends quickly. If we've harmed somebody, we turn our thoughts to somebody we can help. You tend to be current with the important people in your life, so that when something does happen, because something is going to happen, none of us make it out alive, John, that we're able to instead of worry, fret, want to manipulate the situation, whatever it is, we can just be there. And to your point, be present.
Yeah. I want to say this, I guess publicly, I remember especially going through the difficulty with my aunt passing and, oh gosh, that was just, that one, it took me a long time to get over that one. That one, because it was like taking care of my mom at the time. Okay. And I was able to call you many times. I remember calling you. You don't know where I was, but I probably talked about it at the time, but I was sitting in the hospital, and I just needed somebody to kind of bounce some things off of at the time, and just to kind of slow my mind down and say, this is what I'm thinking. And I appreciate you being there. And you always say, is there anything I can do? I love you. And I don't think about calling the people I work with when I'm calling like that, right?
Right.
I don't usually even think about calling family members. Sometimes but I'm thinking about calling you and other people in the program. I talk to my sponsor too, and it's just those are the kind of things that just give me some sort of grounding when I'm going through, and I realize that a lot of people don't have that, and I'm just I feel so fortunate that I have that, people like you in my life to bounce things off of, to process things, to go through what we go through together. And, and it's usually in hindsight that I'm able to look back and go, oh my God, I'm so glad Casey was there. And so anyway,
that's beautiful. Thank God we're not all having a bad day on the same day, right?
That's right. That's right.
That's beautiful. I appreciate you sharing that with me. I feel the exact same way about you. I'm sure that you and I talked quite often while my dad was in the hospital, and I could certainly say the same thing about you.
Okay, so when I first started this episode, the idea is that we were going to make this an As Bill Sees It episode. But as usual, we just started talking. I don't, Casey will tell you, I don't have, there may be one bullet point I write down when we start these things, but I don't really, there's not a script. We pray. By the way, it's so weird when we hold hands and we pray. And I'm thinking, like, if there's a drone outside taking a picture, right? It's just so cool.
Yeah.
So that we can hold hands and have a deep kind of prayer together. And anyway, I just love you to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pause and ask you to come back another time when you're in town.
Yeah.
Now I got to say when you're in town. By the way, you're up here for what? What are you doing up here?
So my son's boyfriend's birthday is today, and so we're going to celebrate his birthday. And then tomorrow, I know we did this on a episode in the past, but there was an Austin bid for Icky Paw, and then we hosted Icky Paw. Well, now there's a DFW bid for Icky Paw, and I'm on the DFW bid, and we have a meeting tomorrow at the Frisco group. So the irony here is I was on the host committee when I was living in Dallas, and it was in Austin, and now I'm on the bid committee for Dallas now that I'm in Austin. So I just can't seem to land in the same city that these bids and hosts are going on, but we're excited about it. We have a great group of people, and it's a great way to continue to hopefully introduce new people to Alcoholics Anonymous.
You've done a lot of things for Icky Paw. I'm sure they are grateful, and I know you've gotten so much out.
Insanely grateful. It's been a huge part of my sobriety and just my enlarging my spiritual experience.
And just so people are, if they've not heard you before and they've not, what is Icky Paw? Just so people
Wide Paw is something we talk about. It's young people in AA. There's a lot of different acronyms that go with that. The big conference that happens here in Canada in the U.S. is the International Conference of Young People in Alcoholics Anonymous. It's in the Twin Cities. It's going to be on Labor Day weekend this year in Minnesota. And so we're taking our bid and going up there and putting a bid together with a bunch of other cities to try to bring it back to our city. And so big group of us going up there to hopefully share some experience, strength, and hope, carry the message to some new people, and get people on fire for AA.
Good.
Yeah.
I loved that last year. We've done 2 or 3 episodes on this, so I won't go over the entire thing again. But it was
energy's good at those things, man.
Yeah. In fact, I remember asking Mackenzie about the next year's thing, and I said, "Where's it going to be?" She's like, "Can I tell you?" I'm like, I don't know. You're not going to get in trouble. It's going to be a while before this comes out anyway. I'm like, so we know it's in Minnesota, but she thought she was like doing something. She was
breaking the rules. She's like, "I'm new to this, John. Quit trying to goad me into breaking the rules."
All right. So what I'm going to do is read from the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, page 164. And this will kind of break down this meeting, and then we'll come back and do some more of this again at another time. Does that sound all right?
Sounds great. Love it.
It says, abandon yourself to God as you understand God. Admit your faults to Him and to your fellows. Clear away the wreckage of your past. Give freely of what you find and join us. We shall be with you in the fellowship of the Spirit, and you will surely meet some of us, like me and KCW, as you trudge the road of happy destiny. May God bless you and keep you until then. Once again, Casey, thanks for joining me.
Love you, buddy. Thanks for having me.
Of course. We will be having a follow-up episode with Mr. Casey at some time here in the near future. As always, my friend, I love spending time with you. I love you as a brother. You're absolutely fantastic. God bless you. And we're going to miss you here in the Frisco area, but I'm sure you will not be a stranger. In fact, I've seen you once, I think, since you already moved down there. Long stories after we recorded this. Anyway, here we go with a little bit of listener feedback. Ashley writes in and she says, it works if you work it. And she says, good morning, John. Morning, John. She says, I have been listening to your podcast since my sobriety date. I've been sober since November 27th of 2018. I had contacted you on Instagram back in the day and was elated to hear a shout out on one of your podcasts. Will you get another one here, Ashley? She says, tonight I am happy to share that I was the speaker at a meeting here in Casco, hope I'm pronouncing that right, Wisconsin. It was my first time. I absolutely adore the program of AA. I am a miracle for sure. Your podcast has been my meeting between meetings through so many of my life's obstacles. Life on life's terms. She's got A. That's the EH. That's like, you could tell she's very close to Canada. Anyway, she says through divorce, COVID, eating disorders, a college degree, and now I'm happy to say I'm going back to college again. God sure has worked miracles in my life. Your podcast is a blessing to so many. I wanted to share an audio clip from my share with you. You have been an important part of my sobriety and my journey. I've heard so much experience, strength, and hope. Keep up the great work. A fellow ginger in recovery, Ashley J. Well, little Ginge here saying hello to you, Ginge Ashley. Thank you so much for writing in. God bless you. I'll try to get to she sent me an MP3 to listen to. I have so many that I'm having queued to review right now. I'll try to get that as soon as I can, but thank you for sending that in, and God bless you, and congratulations to all the good things that have happened to you in sobriety, and I'm sure you have many, many more coming up. Justin writes in, and Justin says, hola. I think Justin's saying that because I was going through a big bilingual kind of, speaking Spanish a whole lot during my episodes. I haven't done it as much lately, but I got a feeling that's what he's referencing. And then he says, hey there, just wanted to tell you that I'm really digging your show. I'm 1 month sober after many relapses, and I'm loving the meeting between meetings. Keep up the good work. Justin G. Well, Justin G., God bless you, my friend. Thank you for writing in. Congratulations on your 1 month, and keep me posted, all right? I'd like to hear more from you. Thank you very much. Matt writes in, and he says, John, good morning from Sweden. He says, I just woke up and as often I'm listening to Sober Speak after falling to sleep listening to an episode, and then via Spotify, the talks just keep rolling at night. That is great. And if I wake up during the night, I just go back to sleep. It works really well. So Keep the talks coming. And thanks for the tips about the speaker meeting. Oh, I had sent him something. There was an ACA meeting coming up. If any of y'all are out there and interested in ACA, I can send those to you as well. He says, I will attend the ACA meeting if I'm awake, but since it's night in Europe time, who knows? And then he says, and once again, thanks for a great job having hosted 3 pods in Sweden. I have a sense about the amount of work you are putting into Sober Speak. Best regards, Matt. Well, Matt, send me a message back. I'd like to know what kind of pods you are hosting in Sweden. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Matt, for writing in. Do you know who Elvis is over there in Sweden? I think Elvis is pretty international, right? But do you know a good Elvis impersonator when you hear one, Matt? This would not be one of those, Matts. Anyway, all right. If you're not following us on Facebook, please do. When I say follow us, what I actually mean is join the super secret Facebook group. Go to your Facebook application, look up Sober Speak Secret Group, ask for admission. We'll get you on in there. And then also, if you're not following us on Le Instagram, that's my French version of Instagram, you can look us up there. It's at SoberSpeak, all one word. And it's the same thing, just in case you were on the Pinterest, at SoberSpeak, all one word. I think I have something on Twitter, but to tell you the truth, I just hadn't looked at it in a long time. All right. That is it. Keep coming back. It works if you work it. I take this 1 week at a time, folks. I hope to be back next week, and may God bless you and keep you until then. Sober on. Ooh, should I start doing that one? Okay, sober on. Yeah, I kind of like that. But for those who don't care about the sober piece, that may not make any difference. But anyway, God bless. Bye-bye.